Hello everybody. Today we're going to be going through the NAPLAN 2016 Numeracy section for Year 9 where the calculator is allowed. I'm going to try and go through it as much as possible without a calculator though to try to give you the skills you need to try to develop that mathematical thinking and hopefully do even better than you already are. If you've got any questions, please put it in the comments below. So, Jared is paid $18 per hour at his job. How much will he be paid for working 6 hours? Well, you've just got to multiply the hourly rate, which is $18, by the amount of hours that he works, which is 6. And 6 times 18, hopefully we know that 6 times 20 equals 120, because 6 times 2 is 12, and then you just add the 0. And where 6 is less than that, because we are only 18 instead of 20. So we've just got to take 12 from 120 to get you $108. You just need to obviously type in this into your calculator to get you the answer though. Very straightforward. 108. Which of the following is equal to 36? Just always try to remember that the exponent, so the 3, is always going to be 1 greater than the number of multiplication signs. So 2 times 2 times 2, 2 multiplication signs, there's 3 lots of 2. 2 times 2 times 2 equals 8. So that's that one. 2 times 2, 4. Then we've got a 3 squared. Okay, so this one over here is going to be 8 times 4. 8 times 4 is 32. This one over here is going to be 8 plus 4, which will be 12. This one over here will be 9 plus 4, which is 13. And this last one at the end is going to be 9 multiplied by 4, which hopefully we know as 36. If you're unsure of any of these times tables at any point, you just put it in your calculator. It will get you the answer you need. When keeping horses, 1 hectare of land is recommended for every 2 horses. 1 hectare for every 2 horses. This is a ratio. How many hectares of land would be needed for 8 horses? 8 horses. How many hectares? Well, to go from 2 to 8, we've had to multiply by 4. So we've got to do the same here as well. 1 times 4 is 4. 4 hectares is what we're looking for. What is the value of the expression 5 plus minus 17 minus minus 4? Hopefully we know the pattern. If we get a minus and a plus, that will equal minus. It doesn't matter which order it's in. If you've got 2 pluses, obviously that will equal a plus. If you've got 2 minuses, try and think of it that those 2 lines will end up making a positive. Okay, so we've got over here a plus and a minus, which is that one there, which means it will end up being minus. It's 5 degrees and we get 17 degrees colder, then we have to be less than 0. It's minus 12. So our answer at this point is minus 12. Then after that you've got minus and then minus, which is this one here, which means it will be a plus. Minus 12 plus 4 equals minus 8. Again, you can just put these into your calculator. If you put it in exactly how it shows at the top with the brackets, you'll be fine, but just make sure that you do it correctly with the brackets. If you are unsure as well, you could always just do it in steps like I just did. So do this first section in your calculator and then do that afterwards to your answer. Alright, Lara earned $16.92 per hour working at a store. This week she worked for 12.25 hours. She used some money she earned this week to buy concert tickets for herself and her friends. Each concert ticket cost $19.55. What is the maximum number of concert tickets she could have bought? So obviously we need to see how much she earned and see how much each ticket is. So just very approximately, this is a little bit less than 17. This is a little bit more than 12. So if we round up to 17 and round down to 12, that can give us a bit of a guide onto how much she would have earned roughly. 6 times 17, actually, well, 10 times 17 is an easy way to look at it. 10 times 17 equals 170, and I know that 2 lots of 17 to make my 12 lots of 17. You add them two together, that equals 34. That's easy to add those up. 204 is roughly what she made, and each concert ticket costs about $20. So 204, how many lots of 20 fit in that? So 204 divided by 20 will be about 10. So that's my estimate without using a calculator. Now let's actually use the calculator. If I can grab a hold of it. Finally able to grab it. So we've got to do 16.92 times 12.25. 207.27 divided by 19.55. 10.6. So my estimate was pretty good. Can't buy 11, we can only buy 10. Now, what I want to make mention of as well, I'd put in 12.25 as the number of hours. The reason I know that that's 12.25, just know over a long period of time. But if you weren't sure of what a fraction is, because let's say it had 5/17, she worked for 12 and 5/17 of an hour, you've just got to do numerator, divide by denominator. This one obviously is a fairly easy one. 1 divided by 4, 0.25. So if ever you don't know the fraction, top number, divide by bottom number. That's always what you're saying with a fraction. One piece out of 4. Okay? Okay. Tammy left her house at 8:35 in the morning and did not return until 4:45 in the afternoon. How long was Tammy away from her house? Now, me personally, I would convert into 24-hour time to make it a little bit easier to look at. So you've got to add 12 to any PM time to get it in a 24 hours. So if it's 4:45, we add 12 to that to make it 16:45. And then it actually looks fairly simple. You've got to get from 8:35 to 16:45, which means we've got to go forward 10 minutes. And we've got to go forward 8 hours. So 16 minus 8 is 8, 45 minus 35 is 10. 8 hours and 10 minutes. Easy enough. Mike had 4 cups of rice. He used 1/2 of a cup of rice for one recipe and 1 1/4 cups of rice for another recipe. How many cups of rice did Mike have left? So he had 4 cups, and then he used half of one for a recipe. So he's got 3 1/2 left. And then he used 1 1/4 cups of rice for another recipe. Now, if I want to do it in a picture way, I've got to have it in quarters, because that's what it mentions up here. So instead of it being 3 1/2, it would be 3 2/4. And if I lose 1 1/4 from 3 2/4, 2/4 take 1/4 will be 1/4. 3 wholes take 1 whole is 2 wholes. And if I want to show it all pictorially, it can be done like this. Here's my 3 2/4. And I'm taking 1 1/4. So I'm taking this quarter away. Oh, sorry, I've got that slightly wrong. I've got 2 quarters there. So I had 2 quarters there. And I'm taking one of them away, which means I've got 1 quarter left. And if I take away an entire whole, that means I've got my 2 holes there. Beautiful smiley face. Now, I will admit this is not the best way to work it out, but it is a way that you can do it if you think about it with pictures. If you want to use the pure mathematical way, I'd be converting all of these into decimals. So he had 4.0 cups initially. He used half a cup. 1 divided by 2 on the calculator is 0.5. So 4 take 0.5 equals 3.5, which we know is 3.5. Then you used 1 1/4 cups, which 1 1/4 is 1.25. So if you do 3.5 minus 1.25, again, you just put that in your calculator, you'll get 2.25, which, as we just saw, 2.5 represents a quarter. So this 2.5 means it's 2 1/4. So I would encourage you to try to be able to move from fractions to decimals easily. It would be quite helpful if you could memorize a few of the basic fractions. If not, like I said, you just do numerator divided by denominator, and that will get you your answer as a decimal. And it doesn't matter what the numerator and denominator is, it will get you the answer. So if you had something more complicated like this, it's exactly the same thing. 5 divided by 17, and we'll get you the answer. Mason's receipt from an electronics store was torn and part of it was lost. And now we're finding out part of the answer. He knew each 10-pack of batteries cost just under $6. Just under $6. So that means if it's 2 lots of just under 6, it'll be 12. Just under 12. Just under 12. Each USB cable costs just under 11, which means 4 of these will be just under 4 times 11 is 44. His credit card statement showed that he spent $72.40 at the electronics store. About how much did the flash drive cost? Well, there's only one of them. That makes it a bit easier. It says that these two were just under 56 and 72.40 in total. Then we've got to look at roughly the difference between the two. So you do 72.40, take the 56, and we want our answer to be a little bit more. Our actual proper answer will be a little bit more than this, because remember, these two lots of items do not cost $56. They cost just under $56, because just under 12 and just under 44 will mean just under 56. So this goes to that. 12 take 6 is 6, 6 take 5 is 1, $16.40. So it would cost a little bit more than $16. Obviously none of our guesses are going to be exactly right, but it asked for about, and our answer is about $16. At a hardware store, 20 kilograms of sand cost $4.50 and 40 kilograms of sand cost $9. Which graph could show the relationship between the amount of sand and its cost? So we need to look at those points. So we've got 20 kg and we've got $4.50. So let's see if we can find something of that. So 20 kilos of sand, which will be in this first chart over here. And that gets about $4.50. So we've matched it up with that one. That's good. And with this one. And not with this one, because as we can see, the 20 goes all the way up to almost $7. So it's definitely not this one, big cross. So now we'll look at the next thing. Then 40 kilos can be $9. This first one, 40 kilos. Yep, that's right on $9. This looks to be the right answer. Let's confirm. What does this second one say? 40 kilos, $7. No good. We wanted 9. So it is the first one. James spins the arrow on the wheel to win a prize. The arrow has an equal chance of landing on each section. Might be a good idea to count how many sections. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 sections. What's the probability that the arrow will land on laptop? So we've got 8 sections in total. How many of them have laptop? 1, 2, 3. So then we've just got to do this. Numerator divided by denominator to end up getting our answer as a decimal. And I know off by heart that 3 divided by 8 will get us 3/8, which is 3.375. So that is the answer that we're looking for. It doesn't say anything weird about rounding, so that answer is also wrong. A store sold plates for $5 each and mugs for $3 each. Nathan wrote the equation 5p plus 3m equals 75 to calculate the number of plates and mugs he could buy for exactly $75. How many plates and mugs did Nathan buy for $75? So he says $5 for each plate, $3 for each mug. How many did he buy? You could put in these numbers and see how it goes. This one obviously looks enormous. 15 times 5, we can put that in your calculator, so 15 plates at $5 each. That already makes 75, so that's already all our budget exhausted. So it's not going to be that one. If we go to the one just above it, again that looks quite big. 9 times 5 equals 45, and 10 mugs of $3, that will get us 75 when we add the two together. So that's the right answer, I believe. Let's have a look at the other two. 5 plates, 5 times, I'm looking at the top one now. 5 times 5 equals 25. 3 times 3 equals 9. That only gets me $34 worth. So it's definitely not the first one. And the second one, 5 times 5 equals 25. And 12 times 3 get 36. And you add them up, they only get 61. So it's not that one either. So yeah, that's the way that you can work this one out. You've only got one equation and you've got 2 unknowns, which means you can't really solve it. It's just trial and error. Yeah, that's pretty much what you'll be doing to try to figure out your answer. Leo recorded the number of pages he printed over 5 weeks. What is the mean number of pages Leo printed? So mean pretty well means average. So we just need to add them all together and get an average. So there's 5 of them. We just add them all up and divide by 5. So 7, 7, 14 plus 6 is 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 100. 100 divided by 5. Hopefully you know that that's 20. Just like 10 divided by 5 equals 2. We're just adding a 0. That's all it is. 20 pages on average. And if you have a look at these numbers, it looks fairly legitimate. It makes sense. Another way that you can look at it as well, this first one is 3 away, while this one is 2 away and 4 away. If we look at the minuses and the pluses, then they actually even out completely. And obviously this one is right on the average. So that's another way of being able to verify that your average is correct. How far away each value is from your average or your mean. A jam recipe uses 2 cups of sugar for every 3 cups of fruit. So that's already a ratio. 2 of S for every 3 of F. Sugar, fruit. Select the correct combination of sugar and fruit. This is wrong, and this can be confirmed with your calculator. That if you do 1 divided by 2, you get 0.5, and you go 1 divided by 3, that will actually get you 0.3 recurring, which means it's a 3 that keeps going on and on. That's obviously no good. As we can see, this second number is bigger than the first number. 3 is bigger than 2. Now, 1 and 1.5 cups, if you're able to realize that this is what 1 cup looks like, and this is what 1.5 looks like, this actually tells you that for every 2 halves you have 3 halves, which is exactly what we've got up here, 2 to 3. So that's the right answer there. And another way you could do it would be you just divide your first number of your ratio by your second, 2 divided by 3. That's what your calculator will end up telling you. There'll be a 7 on the end as it rounds up. And then if you inserted these numbers in that order, that will tell you, that will give you the decimal between, or the ratio between the two. And you'll find that the only one that actually gives you the right answer will be the second one. Just as an example, showing you how it's done. So for this last one, if I guessed it was that one, I'd get 4 and 5. So I'll do 4 divided by 5. That will get me 0.8, which is not the 0.6 that I needed from the 2 out of 3, which is what the question asked for. The only other thing you've got to make sure, this question hasn't made it tricky, but some could, is that when it's actually giving you your answers, that you make sure that it's still giving it to you in the same order. So we've got sugar to fruit, sugar to fruit, sugar to fruit. If it said fruit for sugar, obviously that changes things completely. You've got to make sure that you're reading it in the right way, interpreting it in the right way, just like how the question is asked. Sugar to fruit. A class is making crystals using sugar water and string. Each student needs 0.25 litres of sugar water for the experiment. How many milliliters of sugar water does each student need? Bit of a strange question, this. Each student needs, well, actually not really. I guess it just gives you a lot of information that you don't really need. The only thing you need is each student needs 0.25 litres, and we just need to know how much 0.25 litres is in millilitres. So to go from litres to millilitres, 1 litre equals 1,000 millilitres, which means what we're doing is we're multiplying by 1,000 to go from litres to millilitres. So if we go 0.25 litres times by 1,000, just like any time you multiply by 1,000, you've got to move the decimal 3 times across. And the reason I say 3 times across is because if you multiplied something by 1, it doesn't move the decimal place. If you multiply by 10, it goes across once. Just like 6, if you multiply that by 10, it will end up being 60. The decimal place after the 6. So that's exactly what we're doing here. But obviously we've got to do it a few more times. So by 10, you jump once. By 100, twice. 1,000, 3 times. 1, 2, 3. So it goes from 0.25 to, having the new decimal places over here, 250 millilitres. So that's our answer. Again, with the jumps, it's doing it manually. You can just do it in a calculator. If you do this times 1,000, that will get you that same answer that we've already got. The table below lists the original price and the amount of discount of the same shirt at 4 different shops. Which shop has the lowest sale price for the shirt? So it was originally $20 and it's losing 25%. If it's losing 25%, that means that it's going to be 1 minus the 25% of the original price, which is 0.75. So if we do 0.75 times 20, that tells us how much it costs for the first one, $15. For the next one, it says the discount is 1/3, which means to make that a whole, you've got to have 2/3. So the original price is, the discounted price is 2/3 of the original because we've taken 1/3 away. 2/3 of 24, so 2 over 3 times by 24, your calculator will tell you that's 18. I know that because all it's asking for is, sorry, that's quite slightly wrong, it's 16. 1/3 of 24 is 8, and it's saying that we've got 2/3. So 2 lots of 8 is 16. Next one, discount is 30%. So again, 100% take 30% is 70%. 70% as a decimal is 0.7. 0.7 times 30 will tell us our discounted price. 7 times 3 is 21. And it's the same sort of thing that we're looking at here. 18 times 2. By the way, I might actually further expand on that. Where I've said 7 times 3 is 21, that is correct. 0.7 times 30 is going, these two things are going to say the same, are going to equal the same thing. So 7 times, I'll write that a little bit better. 7 times 3 and 0.7 times 30. The reason they're going to be the same is because this number, this first column here, the difference between these two numbers, first and second, is that we've actually divided by 10. So the first lot has divided by 10. For this next lot, we've multiplied by 10. If you get one part of the puzzle, you do divide by a certain number, and the other one you multiply, that ends up not changing the answer. So I'll give you another example of that. If we have 2 times 5, that equals 10. 2 divided by 10, so we're going to divide by 10 for this first part, that gives us 0.2. 5 times 10 is going to be 50. So if we had 0.2 times 50, we're also going to get 10. And feel free to try this with any number. Remember, if it's just two numbers, if what you do to one number is equalized by what you're doing to the other, so they're doing the same thing but in the opposite direction, then it's not going to change your overall answer. And this is not just for more complicated things like this, it's even for easy things. So for example, 2 times 6 equals 12. If I half 2, that gets 1. If I double 6, that gets 12. It doesn't change our answer. Okay? So, but remember, it's not going to be by plus or minus. It's going to be by division and multiplication. Okay? Now for D, $2 off $18. 18 minus 2 is $16. So the cheapest one is that first one, $15. Now another way you could do it, because obviously I've done always my 100% minus my 25%, or my whole, my 3/3 minus my 1/3. You could always just do original price for the percentage ones. You can do original price, $20 times by 0.25 times by your discount. That will get you a number. And then you can do your original minus your discount to get your new price. Similarly for the fraction, 24 times by, so this is for B, 24 times by 1/3 equals 8, and then you do your original minus your discount equals your new. So that's original discount. Original minus discount equals new. I know it's a lot of working out there, but when you get the maths fundamentals down pat, this is actually a very easy question that you won't even consider using the calculator. It just takes a little bit of practice. But feel free to ask questions about it. I'll be more than happy to go into this in a lot more depth if you need. Ruby designs a rectangular picture for her wall. Inside her rectangle, she adds 3 straight lines as shown. What is the size of the angle at size of angle X? So we have to know that straight line equals 180, and that doesn't matter if it's horizontal or if it's vertical. They're both 180. Here we've got 90. Here we've got 45. That there we'll call Y. 90 plus 45 plus Y equals 180, because that's exactly what this looks like. Sorry about my bad writing. It's a vertical line. So as always, when we're trying to solve for an unknown, we want the unknown to be by itself. So 180, so we'll add these two together, make it 135 plus Y equals 180. We minus 135 from both sides, that way we've just got Y. 180 take 135 equals 45. So we know that Y is 45. Now we also know that no matter which direction the straight angle is, it will be 180 degrees, whether it's diagonal, horizontal, straight, whatever. Because we know that this straight line here, so I'll just do dotted, that dotted angle will be 180 degrees. We've already got a 45 and a 90, just like we do there. We'll call this one Z, with a little line there. 90 plus 45 plus Z equals 180. It's going to be the exact same calculations as over here. So Z will equal 45. Now if we've got Z, which is 45, and then we've got X, which we need to solve, again we've got X plus 45 equals 180. 180 minus 45 will be 135. So we minus 45 from both sides to get the X by itself, and we'll get X. Oh, have I done too much drawing? No. X equals 135. Easy enough. Again, this looks a little bit messy, but it's fairly straightforward if you know that straight angle will be 180 degrees and that you know that that square equals 90. That's the right angle square. Okay, once you solve that, everything else is fairly straightforward. The wheels on a bicycle each have a diameter of 670 millimeters. The wheels turn 10 times. How many meters has the bicycle traveled? So obviously for the wheel to have turned or done one complete revolution, it means that it must have done a whole circumference. Now you need to be able to try to solve the circumference. So we'll need our calculator for this one, but I'll just show you roughly what we're doing. So for circumference, it's 2 pi r. It's circumference. We don't have r. Instead, we've got diameter. But diameter is 2 lots of r. So pi diameter is also circumference. Okay. Now we know that the diameter is 670 millimeters, but all our answers, as we can see, are in meters. So to go from meters to, well, actually we're going the other way around, to go from millimeters to meters, we need to divide by 1,000, because it's 1,000 millimeters equals 1 meter. So instead of calling it 670 will divide by 1000. Here would be our decimal point. 1, 2, 3. That's where our decimal point is. So it's 0.67. So we're going to do 0.67 meters, and then that has to multiply by pi. So that's our circumference, and we're doing 10 lots of that circumference. So now let's give that a go. I'm just going to do 3.14 as my pi. 0.67 times 3.14. So that's one circumference times 10, 21. Makes sense. That's our answer. And we'll hide the calculator a little. Which expression is equivalent to 3x squared minus 9x plus x to the cubed? Well, I guess you could always just expand the ones that they've already got. I think I'll do that because that's probably a fairly easy way to look at it. So, actually, well, the first thing I'll look at is if I was going to actually solve this using a little bit more sense, you just look to see what's common to all of them. So between the first two, yes, 3x fits in both of them, but 3x does not fit in that last one. So the only actual common factor from all of them is x. So really, we should, and it's just x, not x squared or anything like that, because this one only has x to the 1, that has x to the 2, x to the 3. So we can only use x to the 1 as our common factor at the start. So that tells you right away that this is the only one that can be correct, unless there's real weird stuff going on. But we will multiply it out anyways. So first one, 3 times x squared is 3x squared. 3 times minus 3x is minus 9x. 3 times x cubed equals 3x cubed. So obviously not quite right because of that. Number 2, 3x times x is 3x squared. 3x times 3 equals 9x. Remember, you put the minus sign because positive times negative minus sign. And 3x times x squared equals 3x to the cubed. And my mistake is not. Oh no, that's, yeah, it's the same. Yeah, that's all good. All right, number 3. So that's also wrong for the same spot. Number 3, x cubed. This is obviously going to be a bit ridiculous. X cubed times 3x to the cube. X cubed times 3x squared. So you can remember you've got to add the indices. 3 plus 2 will be 5. So that will get you 3x to the 5. To be honest, it's not really worth continuing. You've already seen that it's wrong there. And the last one, I'll do the last one over here because this is our right answer. X times 3x is 3x squared. So remember, this is to the 1, that is to the 1, hence 1 and 1 is 2. X times minus 9 is minus 9x. X times positive x squared will make positive x cubed because you're adding the 1 with the 2. 1 and 2 makes 3. And that gets us our right answer. But again, just to sort of show about what I was talking about from the start, whenever you're going to factorize, or whenever you're going to have that common factor at the start, it needs to be common in all of them. And the only thing that is common in all of these is x, because they all have an x. They don't all have a 3, which means any of them that had 3 have to be wrong. This is a 1. Imagine that there's an invisible 1 at the front. Not a 3. No good. No good. And likewise with x to the cubed. X to the cubed is not in any of these. So Or sorry, it's only in the last one. It needs to be something that's consistent for all of them. That's why it had to be x, which is at the front. And then once you divide all these by x, so instead of it being 3x squared, let's cut that down to 1. Instead of it being 9x, let's get rid of that x. It's 9. Instead of 1x to the cube, let's cut that down to the 2. And that's exactly the answer. Jenny asks 35 people whether they go to work, school, do both or neither. There's a Venn diagram. What's the probability that a person randomly selected from the group goes to school and works? Rounded to 3 decimal places. So there is work, there is school, and the people that do both is in the middle. So that's 3. And it said that there's 35 people in total. You can add these up to make sure that it's counting all 35. 14 and 16 is 30, 3 and 2 is 5, 30 plus 5 is 35. And you've got 3 out of 35 people that would go to school and work. So you can put that into your calculator. I know that 3 out of 36 equals 1/12. So we're going slightly more than 1/12. And I know that 1/12 is that, I think, 0.085. So it's got to be a little bit bigger than that, but let's use the calculator to figure it out. 3 divided by 35. 0.0857. When that obviously can round up to 0.086. So that's that one there. Easy enough. Finding the cursor is a little bit harder. There we go. Lines AB and CD are parallel. Line PQ intersects line AB and CD as shown. Which pair of angles are equal? DGQ and DGP. DGQ, so they're saying this one. And DGP. No, definitely not. Definitely not. Probably got to pick things that are going in the same direction, I would imagine. CGP and AFQ. So CGP and AFQ. AFQ would be this one. Just want to check something. So it said, so for the first one that said, okay, I was just making sure. Because it is a little bit weird the way that it's got it worded. Q, so CGP, C, so I guess what I'm finding a little bit confusing is exactly what it's asking for. It's just labelled in a quite strange way compared to what I've seen. I'm going to move over to the third one, QGC. So QGC, so that fraction, that one there, and QGD, so that one there. So definitely not that one. And if we go PGC, which makes that one there, that's a little line there, and PFA, okay, we finally got it. So this one's the right answer, and it's because the AB line and the CD line are parallel, which is exactly what it says. So P to G is from this point to that point. So I'll just try and do a whole line, if it lets me. That line there. So it is saying that the angle here and the angle there are the same, which they must be, because the AB and the CD line are parallel. Two parallel lines going through a straight line. So assuming they were parallel, these angles will be the same. So yeah, that's the answer for that one. It's worded in a little bit of a strange way because of where the letters are just a little bit poorly labelled, I think. Also, just to confirm, CGP it goes from C to G to P, and it's saying the same as AFQ, but it's not, because it's saying it these two interior angles are the same, but they're actually not. The way that you'd normally be able to tell would be, can I clear them all from this one? The way that you'd be able to tell normally, can I draw again? Oops. Let me get back to drawing. Oh, I can't really delete it, but actually I could, but that's okay. Yeah, the way you've got to look at it is it's about things going in the same direction compared to themselves. So where this F is, I'm just going to do a square even though it's not a 90 degree. That is the same angle as this, because obviously this line QP is straight and DB have both intersected it in the same way. They're parallel. The gap between D and B is always the same. A lot of this you can do, I guess, just by looking at it. You can see that a lot of these angles that they're suggesting do not match up. But please ask for further comments and I'll give more examples of things like this if you find it confusing, because this question is a little bit of a hairy one. Anne made a dot plot to show the ages of students in her dance class. What is the range of ages of the students in Anne's dance class? The range, well, they go from 7 years old to 15 years old. So for me, that's an 8-year difference. That's all I would do for that. 15 takes 7 is 8. A bit of a trick question. There are 52 people in a conference room. The ratio of females to males in the room is 15 to 11. For an important thing, obviously, 15 plus 11 is 26. How many females need to leave the room so that the ratio of females to males in the room is 1 to 1? Now, because I said that the ratio of 15 plus 11 is 26, it's important because we need to extrapolate, which means make this bigger whilst keeping the ratio identical, up until that total equals 52. I know that 2 lots of 26 make 52. If you didn't, you just need to get the 52 and divide by the sum of your two parts of your ratio, which is 26. 52 divided by 26 is 2. So we just need to double this. We need times by 2 all of these parts. So it's saying how many females need to leave the room, so it's a 1 to 1 ratio. 1 to 1 means there's an identical amount of men to women. At the moment we've got 30 women, so we need 8 women to leave, so there's only 22 men and 22 women. So we need to minus 8, so there's 8 females that need to leave. The school vegetable garden has 4 lettuce plants, 2 less capsicum plants and spinach, 4 times as many spinach as lettuce, 1 parsley, 1 sage, 1 basil. Number of spinach plants is a quarter of the number of tomato plants. How many plants are growing in the school vegetable garden? Well, there's a lot of relationships going on here. So we've got 4 lettuce. When it comes to capsicum, we've got 2 less capsicum than spinach. So I'll write capsicum plus 2 equals spinach. There's 4 times as many spinach as lettuce. So because we know that there's 4 lettuce, that means it's 4 times 4, and that will get us the spinach. 4 times 4 is spinach equals 16. And that means that if we've got 2 less capsicum to make spinach, that means, and we know that spinach is 16, that means with minus 2 from both sides, C equals 14. And now it says there's 1 parsley plant, 1 sage, we'll call that X. So we've already got a spinach, and 1 basil. The number of spinach plants is a quarter of the number of tomato plants. Spinach plants is 16, a quarter of 16. 16 is a quarter of the tomato, which means we've got to times by 4, because obviously 4 quarters make a whole. 4 of them make a whole. So 16 times 4 equals 64. Your calculator will tell you that. And that equals the number of tomato plants. So, all up, we've got 4 of lettuce. We've got 14 capsicum. And I'll just put squares around them once we're done. We've got 4 times as many spinach as lettuce. So we've got lettuce, and we know how many spinach there are. There's 16. We've got 1 parsley, 1 sage, 1 basil. 1, 1, 1. We'll just call that 3. Number of spinach plants is a quarter of the number of tomato plants. So there's 64 tomato plants. And remember, these are just working out for our capsicum. So we just need to add all them up. That's 18, that's 19, that's 37, that's 101. Again, that can just go in a calculator and it will tell you that. So I've got 101 plants. Quite a garden. Shop sells 4 sizable cans of red kidney beans. Which can of red kidney beans costs the least per gram? So you've just got to look at the grams and you've got to look at how much they cost. So you've got 176, 400 grams, 189, 420. There will be $1 for 125 and $2.40 for 500. Now you obviously can just divide dollars and cents by grams. I'm just going to go a quick estimate first. I know that this is 2/5 of a kilo, which means I've got to divide this by 2 and then times by 5. So it's about 90 cents will be about half of that, times by 5 will be $4.50 a kilo, roughly. This will be about the same, but it's a little bit more expensive. So it's about 85 cents times 5. So again, about 450. I'll go a little bit less, 440. I'm going 440 because it's for a bit more grams. My guess is probably a little bit off. 125 I know is 1/8 of a kilo. So this will be $8 a kilo. $2.40. This is half a kilo, which means this will be. I've just got to double. Got to double this to make a kilo. Got to double that to make my $4.80. So I believe it's one of the first two. I actually think it's the second one, but I just got to make sure I do my calculations properly. But I'll just show the correct answers for all of them. $2.40 divided by 0.5, because that's what a kilo is. So $4.80. Cursor. $1 divided by 0.125. $8 a kilo. $1.89 divided by 0.42. $4.50. And the top one is 176 divided by 0.4. This will be the right answer. 44. So my estimate was close. So $4.40. This top one, first one, is the cheapest. Just got to remember that no matter what you're doing, you've got to just make sure you're consistent. So I did my calculations with this value, the quantity. I did it in kilograms. You can do it in grams if you wish. You've just got to make sure that you end up changing it to something that you can use. So I was doing it just like they do in the shops. The amount per kilo, the amount per gram is saying the same thing. So you literally could have done 176 divided by 400 and 189 divided by 420. Obviously the answers that this is going to give you, they're going to be decimals. So you need to make sure that you read them properly, and then make sure that when you write down all your answers, that the decimal places all line up. Point under point, I got told, pup, to make sure that you actually get the right answer. Okay? Again, any questions, please ask below. Sum of interior angles of a pentagon can be found by first dividing it into triangles from one vertex. What's the sum of interior angles? We know that 3 angles of a triangle A, B, and C equals 180. And same for E, F, and G, it's 180. And H, I, J, A, B, C, A, B, C, D, E, F. Well, either way, they're all 180. And my 3 triangles of 180, 3 times 180, put that in a calculator, get 540. That's what the total amount is. It's not that dissimilar to the things that we see in some other shapes. And hopefully you sort of see a little bit of a pattern. This is 180, this, and pentagon. You can see that it's getting bigger. It's actually getting bigger by an identical amount, but that won't always be the case, I wouldn't have thought. Or will it? That'll be something to have a look at, perhaps. A Cartesian plane is shown. Select the correct statement below. O is located where x equals 0 and y equals 0. Well, yes, that is correct. So x is how far across you are, y is how up or down you are. That's the correct answer, but we'll look at the other ones. J, oh hang on, this says where j is less than 0. So no, that is not right. I thought that was too easy. So remember, just like on a ruler, numbers go smaller as you go to the left. Smaller. So think of it smaller than. And numbers get bigger as you go across on a ruler, which looks like this, means greater than. And this is with the numbers at the top of a ruler, by the way. Anyway, so let's have a look. J is located where x is greater than 0. That part is correct. And y is less than 0? No, it is above your y. We're heading upwards on y. So that one is wrong also. Next one, K is located where x is less than 0. That is correct. We have gone all the way across in the minus land for the k. And y is greater than 0. We've gone up a bit. That is correct. That is our correct answer. L is located where x is less than 0. No, that's wrong. It is exactly 0. And where y equals 0. No, it is actually in the minus y territory. So just very basically as well. So this is where x is positive, and in this whole quadrant, and this is where y is positive as well. This is where x is negative, y is positive. This is where they're both negative. And this one will be where y is negative and x is positive. So remember, x is positive as we go right, y is positive as we go up. So it's obviously the other way around for the other way. Okay? It's very important to know this to be able to know how to read Cartesian planes. Last one for the calculator section. The Louvre pyramid in Paris, France is made up of 4 triangles and a square. Louvre. Roll and tide to clean the interior sides and the floor. What is the area that you'll have to clean? First we'll go floor. 30. And I've closed my calculator before, so we're going to have to work this out without calculator. I'll write the answer as a comment for you. 35 times 35 will be the floor, because it says it's a square. So that will get you what your square answer is. And then half base times height will get you your answer for your triangles. Now remember, there's 4 triangles, so we've got to end up multiplying that by 4. Well, one way that you could do it, instead of halving this, because I've got to do 4 triangles, 4 times a half equals 2. 2 times the base, 2 times 35 is 70. So that's my 2b. Your height is 28.6, which is pretty close to 30. So 30 times 70. 3 times 7 is 21, plus 1 0, plus another 0. So very roughly, that is one thing, and this will be a little bit more than 1,000. So adding them two together will be 3,100. Roughly, I will go get my calculator and get the real answer actually. So 35 times 35, 1225 is this part. So that's our square. And then we need to do 70, so 2 lots of 35, 70 times 28.6. $2,002, and they just need to be added together. My guess wasn't too bad. Anyways, 3,227 meters squared is our answer. A bit harder than some of the other maths I've looked at recently, so yeah, let me know if you need any further clarification or anything. I'll be more than happy to give further examples or to explain them in a bit more depth. Thank you so much for your time.